Okay. What if the biggest part of Paralympic sport is the part you never see?
Hi, I'm Grace Newfer.
And I'm Olivia Chambers.
We're Paralympic swimmers, but this isn't a podcast about medals.
It's about the stories people don't expect, the ones that don't make the highlight reel.
This is Optical Delusion, telling the stories that we didn't see coming and you probably didn't either.
Each episode, we're sitting down with Paralympic athletes and people with disabilities to talk honestly about identity, sport, success, failure, and everything in between.
No inspirational cliches and no watered down narratives.
Just real stories told by the people who lived them. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next episode. Today, we have a very special guest, soon to be two-time Paralympian and currently three-time Paralympic medalist in Nordic skiing, Sydney.
We're so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you guys today.
We're excited to learn about your sport and who you are. So, with that being said, if you want to just give like a little blurb about yourself, how about it?
Yeah. So I'm Sydney. I cross country ski. I started my sport when I was probably 5 years old, so pretty young. However, I skied able-bodied growing up, and it wasn't until a month before the Beijing Games that I started doing para sports. So that was a pretty fast transition. But now for the past 4 years, I've been skiing able-bodied, but also skiing with para athletes. And so it's been a really cool balance to get to do both. And I'm really excited to get to go to Milan and ski some more races and see Italy.
Oh
All right.
my gosh. You said a month before Beijing you started para?
That's crazy.
Yeah, right before. It was very fast.
Yeah.
So what got you into skiing in the first place? You said you started when you were 5?
Yeah. So I'm from Minnesota. It's a pretty snowy place, pretty cold. And so just kind of we had a good community and as a way to enjoy the winters and stuff,
Oh my gosh.
we'd go outside and ski. Started out really fun. We'd go play fishes and whales, different games, and then have hot chocolate afterwards. And so it was a great way to build
Cool.
friendships and just like foster a love for the outdoors. And then gradually that built into learning how to race and actually ski well and kind of more of a competitive nature.
Oh
That's so
my.
cool. I feel like it's crazy that that's like what you did with your friends because I'm from the South, and so like that is not what we did to socialize. But that sounds so fun because like once in a blue moon when we get our snow, I just remember loving it. But we didn't have like all the equipment, so that's so cool.
Yeah, that's exciting to probably get your occasional snowstorms down south.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I grew up in the Midwest, so I'm good. Like, we have enough snow. Like, you
You
can have
understand it then.
OC. Yeah, I understand. I never tried skiing though. Wasn't necessarily allowed. The eye doctors were like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna go totally blind if you ski." And I'm like, "Okay, great." But no, that's so impressive. And I like the thought of having a little winter outing with your friends and having hot chocolate after, like, definitely feels like the environment that would foster a love for a sport like that. So what was the transition from able-bodied skiing to para? How did you get into para and hear about it? What was that like?
So I have a progressive neurological disease called dystonia, and so it mainly affects the left side of my body and causes involuntary muscle contractions and paralysis. So the disease started when I was 13, but has since progressed. And then when I was in college, it was starting to limit more of my functions. And
Mhm.
so I started talking to my college coach about like, okay, I'm probably not going to be as fast as I once was because now my left leg's not working as well and my arm's not working as well. And he was like, oh, well, you would qualify for para skiing. And in actuality, I would have qualified many years prior. I just never explored the option. And
Yeah.
so it took a lot of poking and prodding. I think it took 12 emails to get a response back from the NGB. but
Sounds
finally
about
they
right.
agreed to allow me to get classified, and within the first classification event, I hit a standard to qualify for World Championships. Um, and then from there, because I was so new, I couldn't get named to the actual roster to go to
Mm.
Beijing, and so instead I had to get a bipartite invitation from the IPC to go. So
Oh, okay.
it's a bit of a convoluted process, but it ended
Mhm.
up working out.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
crazy because both Grace and I swam in college, and it was like kind of our college coaches that came up to us and were like, "You should do para swimming." So it's like crazy to hear all these college coaches just kind of encouraging this, and because like in the NCAA, well,
Mhm.
I don't know about now, but I'm assuming it's pretty similar. There's nothing for para athletes, so it's
Yes.
crazy
Mhm.
to see that it's like college coaches like getting their athletes into this.
Yeah, that's so cool, and I think college sports I don't know, college athletics have definitely been a highlight of my time skiing, and I hope swimming is this that's similar for you, with
Definitely.
swimming. It's just
Mhm.
such a good environment, you get to you're friends with all your teammates, you get to just hang out, you live close to each other. It's just like a natural way to build community with each other, and so I
Yeah,
really hope that,
100.
like, everyone can experience the benefits of college skiing or swimming or whatever sport they may do.
Mhm.
So I think it's cool that it's able to align with para sports.
No, 100%. And like OC and I both are just like freshly graduated from undergrad, just recently said goodbye to like, being on a team with 30 of your best friends and walking distance to everyone. And it's definitely ripping a band-aid off when you leave because it's like, oh wait, there's a real world out there where you're not just in this awesome community. So I totally agree with you, college athletics. And I think that's why needs to be such a bigger conversation around integrating para sports into college athletics. Because, like, for me at least, being, you know, visually impaired in this space, but then having this team that supported me going to all my first in the Paralympic world just made me so much more confident in that part of myself. And I think that that experience shouldn't just be to the para athletes who are also like switching back and forth and able to do able-bodied competitions as well.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. Yeah, it's definitely a hard transition leaving college sports. But
When did
I guess it
you
has to happen
graduate?
sometime.
Yeah.
I graduated in 2024, so
Okay.
not that long ago also.
No.
No.
Yeah.
And you're getting your PhD right now, is that right?
Yeah. So now I went to school at St. Lawrence, which is a small school out east,
Mhm.
in upstate New York, and now I moved out to Salt Lake City, and I'm at the University of Utah, and I work in a lab, and there I'm getting my PhD in neuroscience. So it's been quite fun. I don't know. I
That's
guess it keeps
cool.
me busy.
I was gonna say, how is the balance between getting your PhD and training for the Paralympics?
um, I mean, obviously, like it's a lot going on, but I think it's good to be a busy person, and
Mhm.
also skiing is my social life, and so all my friends like we go on runs, bike rides, skiing together. And so I don't know that like community just fits in naturally. Um, and I also think it's really nice to have the balance between having something academic focused or just other than sport focused, and then also
Mhm.
having sport because doing a PhD is really hard, and also doing sport at a high level is really hard. But then when you have two things that kind of counterbalance each other, I think it makes it easier to do those hard things.
That's a cool
Yeah.
way to look at it. I feel like I don't know, maybe I've never just looked at it that way, but yeah, that's an interesting point. I feel like that makes a lot of sense though.
It does. I think it's so cool that you are able to find a balance between two things that are just so extremely difficult and like being from the outside, being like, "Oh my gosh, she's 23." You're 23, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She's 23, she's getting her PhD, she's leaving for Milan in a few weeks, like, that's just insane, and I know as an athlete, like, sometimes I forget to step back and look at the big picture and be like, "Wow, I'm doing all these things, and instead I feel like I don't know if you've had this experience, but I find it once you're, like, kind of in the grind, it's hard to remember those bigger pictures, and you kinda, like it gets harder, or sometimes you're exhausted and you don't wanna do things, but then, obviously we persevere and get things done. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I think definitely it's cool to see how when you do little things each day, they kind of stack on top of each other and amount to something bigger. Because I
Mhm.
don't know, I do a lot of different little experiments in lab, and a lot of them don't work. Um, most of them don't work, and then some of them do work, and uh, however, so far most of them have not worked. And but you know, gradually it leads to some data that's promising, and hopefully someday a degree, which will be cool. And then same with skiing. Each time you go out and train or do a workout, like that's
Mhm.
not individual things are not going to make you faster, but they stack on top of each other, and that's what leads to bigger things, which is neat.
100%. Can you
Mhm.
explain a little bit more about what you're doing in the lab, like what you're working towards? Because I'm already just so intrigued hearing you mention things working and not working.
Yeah, sure. So I work in a rare disease lab, and so the lab as a whole kind of has a pipeline for using drug repurposing for different rare genetic diseases. And
Mhm.
so what we do is we screen libraries of drugs that are already FDA or EMA approved, and then from there we will take some of the top hits and validate them and see if any of these drugs that have already been approved for one condition could be used off label to treat another condition that might not have the population size to ever get a clinical trial, or due to time drug development timelines or cost would it just wouldn't be feasible to have an individual therapeutic developed for it. And so it's a um, neat process, and so I'm specifically looking at one gene that undermines some forms of ALS, CMT, different neurodegenerative diseases that often result in movement disorders, some lethal congenital disorders. Um, but then other people in lab might be looking at other genes or other diseases.
That's wow, that's a lot, but that's really cool, especially I feel like it probably I mean, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but it probably, like, kind of hits close to home because as I'm sure 3 people sitting right here on this call with 3 different rare disorders and not much research happening, and, like yeah, you said, like, people who might not ever get a clinical trial, I feel like that is a lot of, like, hope and just something really cool to do, and especially coming from learning a little bit about your story, I feel like it probably hits a little closer to home for you and feels a little more special, so that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been impacted obviously by the benefits of research that people have done. That's helped to affect affect the progression of my disease, and so I'm immensely grateful for all the doctors, researchers, nurses, and people that have helped me. Um, and I'm sure you guys and many, many other people are in very similar conditions. But when I look out there, there's not many people who have are in the same situation as me. And so it's not like there's a huge database you can go off of and see like, oh, this worked for everyone, so maybe I can try this. Instead, it's very trial and error. But instead, like for example, our lab is a fruit fly lab, and so we test everything in flies. Um, and it's much better to be able to test these drugs in flies rather than having to test them in that patient initially and say, oh, actually, this drug made you a lot worse. Let's not do that. And so,
Yeah.
I've definitely taken medications that have greatly deteriorated my condition, and that has not been good. And so, hopefully, by screening things, you can have a process to prevent that for other people.
That work is just so important, and I'm sure you could probably talk about it more in depth for hours, and I would probably be sitting here just so engaged and listening the entire time because, like my own personal experience, I think there's 20 to 30 people in the whole world with the same genetic condition I have, so it's just like navigating and, like, carving your own path or just trying to figure out what works or what doesn't can be such an exhausting process, so, like, doing the work that you're doing is so crucial and is so beneficial for so many people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, precisely, someone with your, um, genetic condition is exactly what our lab would look at, and so it's cool to
Yeah.
get to connect with other people in similar situations.
Yeah. And going back just a little bit, because I realized as we're talking that so OC and I spent some time in our second episode going through the classifications because swimming has 14, and then we had a guest on who was a track runner. She was explaining like I feel like they have like 60 classes. Like there's just so much going on in track and field. What class are you in Nordic skiing? How does that work? If you could give a little blurb about that, what would you say?
Yeah, so in Nordic skiing, you have 3 main categories. You have sitting, standing, and then visually impaired, and so those all compete independent of each other. And then within each category, you get your own classification that determines your level of disability. And from that classification, they give you a percentage, and that percentage is applied to your final finish time. And then that is what determines your final finish time is what determines who wins the race. And so, for example, I compete in the standing category. And
Mhm.
so I only race against standing women, but I race against people who aren't necessarily the same classification as me. And so there's um, many other people with many different classifications. And I'm specifically an LW9, which is for um, hemiplegia um, or people who might even have all four limbs affected, um, coordination impairments, that kind of thing. Um, Whereas then someone who maybe is an LW8 classification, that would be someone who is an amputee below the elbow. Um, and so, for example, in skate skiing, the LW8 classification, their percentage is 96%, and my percentage as an LW9 is 89%. So your final time, you just take that percentage of the time, and then that determines your actual time for the race and who wins or like
Oh,
who has the
Oh,
fastest
okay.
time. So it's cool
that's
because
so
then
neat.
you get to compete against a larger pool of people, have more
Mhm.
competitors, but you don't necessarily have to have everyone looking identical, having the exact same disability or something like that.
That's that's an interesting way to do it because, like, we in subbing have 3 different vision classes with, like, S11 being the most visually impaired to S13 being the least visually impaired, and so, like, it'd be cool if we all raced and then it was like that percentage thing, but we all race separately. I feel like there's that we have a pretty good number of visually impaired people, so you still get a
Mhm.
large, I feel like, competition pool, but it'd be really interesting just to see and how they figure out those percentages for each group because obviously they're not going to be
But
perfect
in
in
a
the beginning,
sport
but
that like swimming, where there is so much research and it's so objective because every pool is theoretically the same, whereas in skiing,
oh
every single
yeah,
course is very, very different and conditions are always very different. You could very easily come up with a factored system and do that research method.
that
Um,
is true. So does your percentage stay the same the entire time or does it change by the course or the conditions?
it stays the same no matter what. Um,
Okay,
so yeah.
That's so
that's
neat.
cool.
I would love to see the math on that. And just so you guys have the percentages, so then when you finish, it like takes a while to know what place you got, correct? Because they have to like run it through all that.
No, they have live timing now that runs according to the
Oh, okay.
percentage actually, so it's kinda cool. So, like, my time is actually running slower than actual time is on the clock.
Oh,
So, my clock would just be running at 89% of the real clock, and someone else's might be running at 95% of the real clock. And so, in live timing, they have it going so that you can get accurate splits throughout the race and you know where you are,
That's
which is
cool.
cool.
I
Yeah,
feel
that'd
Wait.
be
like
really
yeah.
suspenseful otherwise.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we have that where we have to like wait a little bit for like the world para swimming points to get calculated and ranked if we're doing like multi-class and it just like takes a while to figure out where everyone is.
I feel like the percentages would make it easier to compete alongside able-bodied people too.
Yeah.
Because like if they just have the regular time and then you're 89%, then that's like I feel like pretty easy to figure out. So that have y'all ever like had any competitions that have had like para and able-bodied, or do you just always race able-bodied when you go to an
When I race
able-bodied
able-bodied, I
competition?
just race like completely normally. Um,
Gotcha.
and that works out fine. But they
Mhm.
have talked about um potentially doing that for future races as a way of making the results more equitable. Um, and so,
Mhm.
or at least for like using that for qualifying standards so that you could, so the barrier of entry is less,
Yeah.
so that you could enter any race rather than having to go to a para specific race.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but
gotcha.
they don't do that right now. Um, but I think it's in the works, which is exciting.
Oh my
I
gosh.
feel like it would be easier to implement than like I feel like the system we have set up right now.
Oh yeah,
But
it would be no,
I
it's
don't know.
super easy to implement. They all they need to do is like write it down on a piece of paper to implement it right now. Like other than that, it's perfect. Um, yeah,
Oh.
because everyone is based off of the highest VI class. So like 100% would be
Mm.
the highest vision impaired class.
Mhm.
But then I think it's another 3% from that to able bodied. But other than that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
Interesting. So then going into Milan, what events do you have lined up? What are you competing? And how has this season looked like for you thus far?
I don't know. Well, I think I know what races I'm doing, but I guess I'll just like decide on the day, sort of. My plan is to do all the cross country
Gotcha.
races and then throw in a couple biathlon races. I'm very new to biathlon. This is my first year seriously doing it, and so
Hmm.
I'm not very good. But it'd be fun to have a couple more race starts. So if I have the energy, I'll do them. If I don't, I'll rest. We'll just see what happens. um, so that's kind of what racing in Milan will look like. So far, my season's gone really well, actually, which is pretty exciting.
Good.
Oh.
It started out a little rocky. I The day before I was supposed to leave for our first World Cup, I fell and I cut my knee extremely badly, and
Oh.
so I cut it all the way down to the joint capsule, and I partially cut my
Oh.
patellar tendon. So I had
Oh.
to go into the OR that night to get that all cleaned out, which
Oh.
wasn't fun. And so then I was on crutches for 5 weeks. But
When was
that
that?
that was mid-November.
Okay.
Oh.
Um, but
Wow.
then once that healed,
Hmm.
come early January, we had races, and I was kind of expecting them not to go well because, well, I hadn't been training a ton,
Right.
or I had been doing what I could do. But
Hmm.
they surprisingly went really well, and so I had some of my best races, which is really exciting and encouraging. So
Oh my gosh.
obviously, I don't know what'll happen going into Milan,
Right.
but it's a good place to be in right now.
It's always exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I that like just having the energy from those past races, I feel like is gonna carry you so far in Milan. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And so you were in Beijing, and obviously Milan is going to look a lot different without COVID. What was your experience in Beijing like? Like, what were your highs? And if you want to go into the lows, just kind of like an overview of Beijing for you.
It was really weird. Um, I mean, I had, first I'm going in, I had no clue what to expect. It
Hmm.
was also interesting because I didn't know any of my competitors. I didn't know any of my teammates. I didn't know my coaches. I was so new to everything that I knew no one. Um,
Hmm.
so Like, I didn't trust any of my coaches. I didn't know who they were.
That's so
That was a little
fair.
bit
That
odd.
is fair.
Um, but uh, overall, like the racing scene itself, that was very similar. I mean, once you start the race, it's the same. Ski races are the same wherever they are,
Mhm.
right? It's kind of, I'm sure that's the same for swimming. And
Yeah.
yes, each pool has its own thing, each course has its own thing, but the race is just the race. It's everything
Mhm.
around it that makes it different. And so I think the hardest parts of Beijing was just the isolation, being locked in a room alone. I was put down at the very end of the Team USA house, and so I was the only person that had to walk outside to get to my room. So, and you weren't allowed really in the common areas, so I had to just like sit in my room all alone. Everyone else had
Oh, wow.
roommates, but because I was the late addition, I didn't have a roommate, so I was just like literally sitting there alone the whole time, which sucked.
Yeah.
um, but I guess for highs, I had really good results, which I was not expecting at all. Again, I didn't know who the competitors were. I did not know what the field looked like, and so I came in and I had really good results, which I was like, "Oh, maybe this is just how it always is." And now I've learned, no, that's not how it always is. Maybe I just got lucky then and happened to have a good week. But yeah, that was kind of.
Maybe like being naive without knowing your competition actually kind of helps. 'Cause I feel
I
like
think it did.
sometimes,
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes not knowing what your competitors can do is a good thing.
yeah. I mean, I came in without any expectations, didn't have any pressure on my back, and that proved to be good.
Yeah.
That's so
So,
nice.
hmm
I'm trying to think. I'm like, as you're saying that you were just sitting alone in your room, I'm like thinking back to our Paris experience and like if we had to do that, it would have been so different. So I'm so excited for you to get to like experience the real games because like I mean obviously we don't know what the COVID games are like because we weren't there, but just based on how fun Paris was and how like social it was and getting out in the village and meeting other athletes from other countries and other sports and even knowing your own like Team USA athletes you never met. Like it is so just so fun. And like I wish I could go back every day. So I'm like so excited for you to get to actually have a real games experience because I can't tell you like how cool it is.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And like, it'll help having established relationships with my teammates and the USA staff now. Also,
Mhm.
where we're skiing in Italy is a very famous course, which is exciting. China is not
Ooh.
known for its skiing. We were skiing on man-made snow in the middle of a desert, and it was not
Oh,
optimal conditions. And even though in
That does
Italy it
sound
might
like
be
it.
kind of warm and slushy, um, it's cool
at
that
least
we're
it's
in
real.
the mountains where skiing is supposed to happen and people are
Mhm.
enthusiastic about skiing. And so that'll be really cool to have that whole skiing culture around.
No, that sounds
So
so fun.
you skied on man-made snow in Beijing? I find it interesting that they chose that as like a venue or like a place to do Winter Games.
Um, yeah, nowadays, kind of with climate change and everything, almost all of our races are on man-made snow, sadly. It's a very
Oh,
rare occurrence to have enough natural snow to hold a race. And so,
I guess I didn't think about that.
yeah, it's um becoming a new normal, which is very unfortunate, but it's I guess
Yeah, I
something
was gonna
that
say that's
we're learning to ski
yeah.
on that kind of snow. It's more granular, it kind of packs into
I was gonna
itself
say, what's the
differently,
difference?
but
Mm,
um
gotcha. That's just so
it's just how it
frustrating.
is. And it's more
Yeah.
frustrating just
Yeah.
on like a macro level of how it's changing, not the course, like the situation itself of, oh, okay, the snow conditions, whatever. Snow conditions are sometimes good, sometimes
Mhm.
bad. That's weather. Um, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's tough that.
Do you think you'll be able to like? It's definitely like unfortunate, but do you think it'll become more popular now that we'll be able to make courses with man-made snow and can do it almost anywhere?
Oh.
Uh, I think this is like definitely hurting the sport.
Okay.
Man-made snow is still like regular snow. It's if you go to
Oh, so
an
it still
alpine
needs to
ski
be cold?
resort, it's just like stuff that people blow. So it's just not natural
Oh,
snow
okay.
that's
I've never
flowing through
skied
this.
before, so I have no
Okay.
idea.
No, you're all good.
Okay,
That
that
Yeah.
is
makes a lot more
that kind of makes
makes a
sense
lot.
though. Like if you could make mountains for skiing in Florida, then maybe more people in Florida would know how to ski and enter the games. But yeah, that
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
sound
this is
ideal.
definitely detrimental to the
Okay,
sport
that
as a
makes a lot
whole.
more sense.
Yeah,
I
it's
was just
just
trying
now
to
we
think
have
of a
like snow guns
costume.
that are blowing the snow. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
like a turf situation.
Okay. Dang,
Hmm.
that's unfortunate. Yeah, so
Yeah.
See, we're learning. We're trying to understand
No,
Winter
you're all
Paralympics.
good. You're all good.
Um,
so I do off of like we're learning kind of thing. So what is the difference between cross country skiing and Nordic skiing?
There isn't.
There isn't?
So
Okay.
I think
Okay.
the reason to me why you call it Nordic skiing over cross country skiing is just so you don't get it confused with cross country running. Like in sports
oh,
for
Okay.
college or high school sports, that's why we'd always refer to as it Nordic and then cross country,
Makes
to
sense.
delineate between running and skiing. Uh,
I was getting
but
confused.
other
I
than
was
that,
like, oh no, we got the sport wrong.
no, other than that, they're the same thing.
Okay.
Okay, good.
You can use them interchangeably. If there is a difference, I don't know the difference.
Okay.
Okay,
So
cool. I'm
you're all
glad to
good.
know that.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was trying to figure that out when I was just like looking it up and I was like, what is the difference?
I don't think there
But
is
okay,
one.
that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And going back a little bit to Milan and like you having your first Paralympic, like not first Paralympic, but like more of a real games experience. My recommendation is if you're into pin trading, definitely do pin trading. I don't know if you've seen all the hype about it or what you were able to potentially do in Beijing, but me and my roommate in Paris were like on the corner in the athlete village, like raising up our pins, and there's like all of the different nations would like rush towards us because everyone wanted the USA one. So fun if you
It's
have
so
the time
fun.
or energy.
That's
You like
cool.
collect the rare ones.
Yeah.
I just
No,
remember
hopefully I can do that.
someone asked me for a pin and I gave it to him and he said, no, I don't like it. And he handed it back. I was like, oh, my bad. Sorry, that's all I
Oh my
got.
gosh. Yeah, there was
But
some pin trading going on in Beijing, and it was funny
Mhm.
because someone would like say, "I'll give you 3 pins for that one pin" if it was a special pin for some reason. And I don't
Mhm.
completely understand the merit behind one pin versus another. I don't know, they're all the same to me. But um yeah, some people were really into it and it was funny to see there's like a currency basically.
No, there literally is, and like you would walk in. I mean, at least in my experience in Paris, we would like walk into the athlete dining hall, and you would just hear everyone's lanyards like clanking around their neck, and you'd be like, "Oh, what pin did you get today?" And then everyone would be jealous if you got like the one pin that no one had yet. It was
What was it
so
like
weird.
the koala from Australia
Yes,
or
everyone
the
wanted that koala.
wooden clogs from
Mm,
Netherlands? I
yes,
remember
Oh,
that.
that's
those were
Yep.
the
cool.
two. They were just hot
Those are
commodities.
I will say I am jealous about the summer sports because you guys have so many more countries
Mm.
and just like
Yeah.
much more regions like involved.
Yeah,
And a
yeah,
lot
Yeah.
more just sports overall, I feel like.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can swim anywhere, you can run anywhere.
No,
So,
that's
yeah.
how have you seen? I'm sure you've seen the Team USA gear kit for this Winter Olympics. How are we feeling about the eagle skirt?
I already have a friend who's called dibs on it. He saw it and he was like, "I'm taking your eagle skirt." I was like, "Cool, more power to you." So,
Cool.
I feel like I would just wear that around the village just for laughs and then
I
never
feel
wear
like
it
I'll just
again.
need to like get a couple pictures in it first before I hand it off to be like just for the bit of it, and
For the
then
bit.
yeah,
It's like our we had a shirt. It was like a button-down shirt with like what was
Mm.
even on it? You know what I'm talking about,
Was
Grace?
it the Hawaiian shirt?
Yes, the button-down Hawaiian shirt that was like it's a lot. There's like a lot of American
It's
flags, like the Eiffel Tower. There's some people on it
Oh
running, I
my
think.
gosh.
I have no
Yeah.
Honestly
idea.
though, it's smart marketing from Nike because it's so ridiculous that everyone's gonna post about it. Everyone's gonna get hyped up about it. And
Mhm.
yeah, no one's gonna wear it out in public, but they don't care about that. They care about its social media presence. And
All online. Yep.
yeah, it's a smart marketing deal.
No, genuinely. And I saw this TikTok of winter para not Paralympians, Winter Olympians from all the countries agreeing to wear their ugliest kit outfit they could come up with to the dining hall for dinner, and you just see like Germany and Great Britain and the Netherlands all in these like obnoxious outfits, and then the Americans just in the Eagle skirts.
Well, and
It's so
for
fun.
winter sports for Germany, all their stuff
Mhm.
is like bright yellow neon. So they literally
Oh,
could make something with being like a neon highlighter, which I'm sure that would look great.
that's a look. That's a look right there.
Okay, so to end this
Okay.
episode, Sydney, OC has a question for you.
What is a story in your life that you did not see coming?
Um, I'd have to say this past fall was there was probably one day that was one of the most awkward days of my life. I had to do a like photo shoot, video commercial shoot for a brand, and they put makeup on me. They made me get dressed up in a bunch of different outfits. There were a million cameras all around. Took like 12 hours. That was
Oh.
that's so not me. And man, I mean, it was good. I guess I'm glad I did it, but man, that was awkward.
I totally get that. Looking back to some of my first interviews I ever did, I'm like, "Oh my god. What was I even doing, saying?" Like, I don't even know. So I definitely feel like being on camera is something that definitely gotten more used to. Especially like when I just remember in Paris when I was on the podium for the for free and the camera is so close to your face. I was like I was like, "There's no way I'll be able to see it, like, I'll be good." Nope, I saw it. It was right there. I was like, "Please back away." But
I
I
feel like
totally
there's
get
some
that.
people who like that stuff and some people who it's not their cup of tea.
100%. 12
Definitely.
hours though, I feel like 12 hours, that can't be anyone's cup of tea. That
No.
No.
sounds like a long day. Did they give you lunch and dinner and stuff in between?
Yeah, they had snacks and food. It was
Good.
Okay,
good,
good.
but
That's
yeah.
that's a lot.
Literally. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Cindy, for joining us today. You definitely shared a lot of knowledge that OC and I did not previously have, and hopefully our viewers feel the same sentiment. And we are so excited to cheer you on in Milan. I am so excited for you just to have that experience and be able to race in Italy. That'll be so cool.
Thanks. I'm excited to see you guys crush it in LA. That'll be
Oh,
really
that's
fun.
that's
Thank
The
so
home
sweet.
you.
games.
Hopefully, there's like a
Yeah.
big Paralympic Team USA meetup soon, and we can all meet in person because that'd be so fun.
Yes, that would be so
Yes,
fun.
that'd
We
be
need something
awesome.
with the summer and winter Olympians and Paralympians. I feel like that
Hmm.
doesn't really ever happen.
Yes,
No.
for sure.
Ah, yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. We really appreciate it, and thank you again, Sydney. And we will see you guys next week.
Goodbye. All right, I'm going to
Bye.
end it.